Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest coming up for you today. It's been a while since he has graced us with his presence here on the Rich Zeoli Show and elsewhere on WPHT. His name is George Hermida. He is the king of podcasts. He is one of the original podcasters from 20 years ago. And if you want to check out the numerous podcasts that he hosts, his website is KingOfPodcasts.com. On X and on TikTok, you can find him at King of Podcasts. So George Hermida, the King of Podcasts, welcome to 1210 WPHT and the Rich Zeoli Show. Thanks for your time.
Hello, Lou Pate. Hello, Philadelphia.
It's been a while since you were. I think the last time you were on, Barbie was in the movie theaters. That's a long time ago.
Actually, you know what? It was around Thanksgiving, I think it was. It's been a while. Springtime has come to Pennsylvania, so that's a good thing.
It's supposed to be 82 degrees this weekend for Mother's Day. So that's pretty incredible. But I cannot say it enough. People should follow you on X because you have all of your podcasts there. There's the weekly podcast that includes the Broadcasters Podcast and Podcasters Row. And what's the other? I always forget the Debaucherous. What is it?
Oh, Depraved and Debaucherous, which is like society, dating culture, things like that. And then there's also the Wrestling is Real podcast. That's the longest running one that I have, over 12 years now.
The wrestling is real. Yeah, it goes way back. And Depraved and Debaucherous, that's the one that gets people love that stuff. You're like the Maury Povich of podcasts. That's a compliment.
It's a different twist.
Or is
it's a different twist than what we used to have. You know, it's not. Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer, that's the one I was thinking of. Now, George, I wanted to talk to you about movies, and it's funny because we must have this cosmic connection because I wanted to talk to you about movies because you're well versed in movies. How many movies have you seen? Like last year, what did you see? 62 or 64 movies, something like that.
65, and I think I've already seen 20 this year.
I mean, you go
in the theater.
Like me, I'm very particular. I don't go if I don't like this actor, and if I don't like this or that, and I won't go see. I told you, George, I'm pathetic. The last movie I saw was Sound of Freedom. Was that 2 years ago?
Right. It's been a while. Right.
It's been a while. So I wanted to talk to you about.
It's like you've got to leave your political affiliations aside when you go to some of these movies and just go in there, and just suspend disbelief because that's all we can do.
That is true, but I don't let the politics get in the way. Some people you just don't like. But somebody said to me earlier today, "Do you want to go to a movie?" And I was like, this weekend, and I was like, "Well, what's even playing?" And I really, because the movies don't really advertise on TV like they used to. You might get a pop-up ad here or there, and I don't watch TV. Network TV. I mean, if I'm watching something, I go and I stream it. It's Roku or Netflix, or I even got one of them Fire Sticks. I don't know how to work any of that stuff. My better half, she takes care of all of that stuff. So, someone said, "You want to go to a movie?" I'm like, "Gosh, what would I even go see?" And that got me thinking about you, and it got me thinking about movies because I know that you are an intellect in all things pop culture, and especially when it comes to movies. And you cover this in all of your podcasts, which people can check out at KingOfPodcasts.com. But now the Netflix co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, he recently made headlines with his comments regarding the state and future of movie theaters. And basically, it's not positive. Is that the time of the one movie in a movie house with a giant screen where everybody would go and they'd run the movie shorts before and they'd run the upcoming films that are going to be released soon, that time is gone. And now people are watching movies at home. So when I say the last movie I went to see in a theater is Sound of Freedom, that is true. But I've watched a lot of movies just streaming. Sometimes I got to wait a few months for them to come out, but I tend to like doing it in the comfort of my own home. As you know, I'm a homebody, but the Sarandos suggested that the dream of filmmakers having their movies play on a quote-unquote gigantic screen in sold-out theaters for extended periods just doesn't happen very much anymore. But George, I remember you and I talking about various movies, and you said you've got I think it's the Regal Pass, I believe you have, right? Was it Regal or AMC?
Regal Unlimited, yeah.
Regal Unlimited. So you go there, you'll get your whatever, a beverage or maybe some popcorn or maybe a box of candy, whatever you're in the mood for that day, and you get one of those luxury lounge chairs like most people wish they had in their home, and then you still enjoy, from what you described to me, you still enjoy the movie experience.
Because I'm not going to be able to replicate the same thing at home. I'm not going to get the type of seating that I have, the sound, the picture. It's just not going to happen. But the other thing, too, is that with the movies you're going to go see, they're taking time out. Look, the movie studios are willing to go ahead and gamble on the fact that more than half of the money that's spent on the movie is going to go towards the movie theater company, right? That's a gamble on them to see how much money they're going to make off of it. For Netflix and for all these other streaming outlets, their thing is this. When they're trying to have movies out, okay, you have their movies that they have. Of course, Ted Sarandos is going to talk about his own Netflix original movies. They do one a week. It's like home video. And, the quality that you get what you pay for. So if there's other movies that are going to be screening on Netflix that from the movie theaters, you don't know when they're going to show up. You don't know when they're going to be released so you can find them on streaming. You're lucky if you find it on your preview screen for Prime or Netflix or whatever, if you find those movies again. At least for me, I know when they're going to play. I want to watch it. I don't have to go looking around for it. And they don't promote the movies that come out from the theaters and switch over. Very rarely, unless they produced it. But if they didn't, then it just get lost in the ether. So they don't care about that. They'd rather just go and promote their own movies, keep people going to their own thing, so they don't realize the movie theater exists.
So you make a great case for continuing with the movie house experience. Now, I remember when I was a kid, and the internet's not very old, so most people in the sound of my voice remember the movie house experience, that a movie would come out, there'd be a buzz about it. The local newspaper would have an ad that would be the center of the newspaper, or at the very least a full page ad, and it'd be the movie. You had to go to the movie page to see the times and the theaters that it was playing in, and then you'd go there, and there wasn't 10, 12, 15 movies on moderate to large screens. There was one giant screen that took up the whole building. And then when you went in there, you got your popcorn or whatever if you were so inclined, and then you watched the previews of whatever the movie was going to be next, was going to be coming out in future months. But now, George, when I go there, it's commercials. Yeah, eventually the trailers come out, but I'm sitting through Coca-Cola and T-Mobile, and I'm sitting through a half hour of commercials before I get to what used to be just the trailers leading into the movie. I don't want to sit through all of that, but if I do go to a theater, I got to get there early enough to get a good seat, because if I wait till, late, that I walk in, I might not even be able to sit with the friends I went with. So it's kind of like they kind of got you on that. They never used to be commercials. I think commercials have ruined the movie experience. At least they have for me. Do you mind sitting through all those commercials?
I don't mind it, because the thing is that, if you're assuming that you're going to have people to get there on time for the showing, look, basically, as a rule of thumb, 20 minutes after the show time that's listed is usually when the movie starts. That's the best bet. And then by the time you get to the time that the movie time is, that's when the trailers start. At least in my theater, you'll get a couple of ads that are for like whatever drinks that they sell there. And they want to promote concessions, of course. And then they have some movie trailers with one major ad in the middle of it. 20 minutes is usually what all it gets. Now, the other thing, too, that's a lost practice when you talk about like looking into the theater listings. Remember when we had movies that were doing so well they were held over? Remember when they were just like,
yes,
this movie's doing so well, it just stays in the theater for a few more weeks. That's something that's a lost art, and I wish the movie studios would go back to that practice again, not be stuck to the streaming services and say, okay, 30, 45-day window, and then it's got to go to streaming. No. Hold back. If a movie's doing so well, let it keep making money, and then people can go find it. Because, look, there's the movie Sinners that came out about 3 weeks ago. Okay, but, it's vampires. The thing is, it's a very black-oriented cast. But the thing was, the movie was actually quite good. But the thing was, that first week, It did pretty good. But you know what? It did just as good the second week, which never happened, is because a certain community that would never go to the movie theaters, they got word of mouth, and they all showed up the next week. It's like, I'm going to wait until I hear about it, and then I'm going to go to the theater. And then the next week it was. My movie theater was packed because people showed up on the second week because they gave it time. And that's the part we used to have, too. It's like, you can have movie theaters where they're not stuck with, okay, you got to watch it within a couple of weeks, and that's it. It goes away. We used to have it where we had one theater would have it, and then there would be a secondary theater that would run them on a cheap. That's what Netflix and Amazon Prime and all these others are doing now. But also the movies they're putting out, tell me one movie, except for the ones that get Oscar nominated, okay? Any movies that you see on streaming right now that you're like, I would have paid to watch this in the theater. You can't. I don't think you can. You tell me, Lou.
I'm listening. I'm listening, and I'm going through my head of movie experiences because for someone who's an extrovert, so for someone who loves interacting with the public on the radio, I don't like sitting in a crowded movie theater. It's not like claustrophobic or anything. People are rude. People are loud. They're crunching on food. They're moving. They're opening packages. There's bags. There's always an idiot with his cell phone that rings. So I used to try, when I went to the movies more regularly, I would try to go to see a movie just before it disappeared from the theaters. And sometimes I missed it because it went away quicker than I thought. And I'd be like Elvis or Michael Jackson. I'd be the only one in there, George, or maybe some other guy or some other girl or some other couple that had nothing else to do. And it'd be like 3 or 4 people in the whole movie theater. That I loved. I loved that. And but like as a teenager and
you're also going to movies but you're also going to movies that everybody else is going to go see at the same time. You're going to the ones that are bona fide, like, okay, if I'm going to go, I'm going to like it. It's going to be worth the price of the ticket.
Right, but I'm also going. I've tried when I was going. I was trying to go just before it would leave. So, which by the way was only like the third week, as you said. First week dominant, second week tapers off, third week no one's seeing it. Okay, we got to get some other film in there. I'm the guy in there in the third and fourth week if it was still there. But George, like, radio is moving towards streaming. You host 4 podcasts, and isn't the movie experience going towards streaming as well? Even though you love the big comfortable chair, George, you can buy that chair and put it in your house. You can buy one of those. You go to Lazy Boy or something like that, or Rooms to Go. You can get that chair. It's not impossible, but I understand.
No. If I want to replicate it, I can absolutely do that. Look, when we were doing COVID, and you had no choice but to stay home. Look, I could get Bluetooth to set up on my TV. I could bake popcorn in my microwave. I can go ahead and sit down on a nice chair. I have a nice, recliner. But the difference is, it's still not the same as going to the movie theater. It's not the same as me.
It's really not.
Just getting up and going out just up the street to go to the movie theater to go watch. And like the experience is there. I got camaraderie. Think about it like this. What about if you have a date? If you're just somebody on a first date, you're going out with somebody. What a great way to go out. Friday nights are always like the night to go out to watch an opening movie.
It was movie date night. Yes, it was Friday night movie date night. Now, growing up in the Bronx, we had some palatial theaters. You had in Fordham, you had the Loews Paradise, I think it was called. In Parkchester, you had the Loews American. In my neighborhood, there was the Interborough, and they actually had a drive-in movie theater down the street from there. But all of those places, they're not even multiplexes now. They're gone. But George Hermida, please hold that thought. I want to. I got to take a quick break here, but I do want people to check you out at King of Podcasts is your website, www.kingofpodcasts.com, on X and on TikTok at King of Podcast Radio, and the weekly podcasts that include the Broadcasters Podcast and Podcasters Row. Lou Pate here with you, 1210 WPHT. Let's get back to our special guest, George Hermida, the King of Podcasts. Always great to have you here, George. We're talking about going to the movies, which is something that everybody does. And the Netflix co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, had mentioned that basically, in a nutshell, the short story is he's saying that the movie experience that we experienced as children and as young adults is basically gone. And going into the break, I mentioned about the palatial movie houses in the Bronx when I was growing up. Fordham Road, Parkchester, Tremont Avenue in the northeast corner of the Bronx. It was really it was a palace, and some of them were called palaces. They're all gone. They built multiplexes with 15 movies in them, and that has kind of ruined the movie experience. But there's an actor out there called Danny McBride. You might know him from the HBO comedy The Righteous Gemstones. Unfortunately for him, that was just canceled. He's actually the nephew by marriage of Cheech Marin from Cheech and Chong. But Danny McBride says it basically, and I quote, he says, "In some regard, it's not about finding what the audience wants to see. It's about reestablishing why it's important to go to the movies in the first place. In LA and New York, you still have these badass movie theaters that have state-of-the-art sound and screens. I'll buy a ticket to a theater here, and it feels like you're in a halfway house." And he now lives in South Carolina, George. And you kind of touched on that when you were saying you like the experience. You can make the popcorn at home. You can buy the chair and put it in your house. But you're there. You're in a room with everybody who's there for the same reason, which is to see that same movie. So there's a socialization about it. There's a camaraderie that comes with it. And if you have a great sound system, it's even better, because I've been in a lot of these multiplexes, and their sound systems just are not good. But those movie houses that I used to go to, George, are all gone. I think if I was in New York, I'd have to go to the Ziegfeld in Midtown, is the only one that I could think of, but I don't even know if that's still there. It's been a while for me. What do you think?
Well, part of it is, too, is that some of the theaters, if you're going into the big city, for me, it's a bit tough, because now, like where I live in the big city that I have near me, they took the movie theater away. So, like, the suburbs are where you have to go for the movies right now anyway. The thing is, it's the way that this movie theater says is now. I mean, you still want to have certain movies that have to have an audience. You want to have an audience there that's going to interact with you. And there are still some movies out there that create a reason to have audience participation. One of the movies that just came out was the Minecraft movie last month. And, it's a huge computer game, video game. And, there's certain things about that makes it feel like it's such a throwback to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where people are throwing popcorn at the screen because they're getting all into it. Well, 2 years ago, Taylor Swift had her concert thing, the Eras Tour. And there was a sing-along that they had for that movie. So you have all these young teenage girls or, the young moms all going in the movie theater and just singing along like crazy to Taylor Swift. Even last year, Wicked, after that movie came out, then they started having sing-alongs for that as well. It's like there was a thing where you just had like almost like a concert experience to it. But I had the same thing across where like...
Wait, hold on. I need to jump in. You were talking about I read the stories about teenage boys throwing popcorn, destroying movie theaters. That's the movie with Jason Momoa and Jack Black, right?
Right.
And what's it called? It's kind of a cartoon, but it's not
movie.
Minecraft.
That's the Minecraft.
So it's after the game.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. How did that do, by the way?
It did very well. I think it's made like $800 million. Like it made more. It made a lot of money. It's coming up on $1 billion overall. It's doing pretty well.
Jack Black, what a sellout that guy is. He threw his partner from Tenacious D right out the window when he made that off-color comment about Donald Trump, and there was backlash about it. He dropped that guy and sold out. Jack Black's a sellout. And as someone who has done a handful of stand-up comedy, I take a personal affront to the fact that they call Jack Black a comedian.
Oh, because he does the same thing over and over. And by the way, if you see this movie, he's just like a slob. It's like he's so comfortable in the role because it's just Jack Black playing Jack Black. I mean,
he's playing himself, big fat slob, big fat unfunny slob Jack Black. Now,
yeah.
But I got to ask you, you mentioned something that opened up a bunch of brain cells in my head, is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. First time I saw a Rocky Horror Picture Show was in Westchester County because, as you said, you have to go to the suburbs, and this was many years ago, but you've had to go to the suburbs now to see movies for a very long time, because the first time I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show, it's brilliant, by the way, Tim Burton, gosh, come on, how could you not? How could you not love it? that was a long time ago. But then, being that I did grow up in New York City, I had the luxury of going down to Greenwich Village on a Saturday night, where I actually ended up hanging out, spending many years through college hanging out down there. What a great place to meet women. Go to the gayest neighborhood ever, George. It was the greatest place to meet chicks. It really was. But there was a movie theater on 8th Street in Greenwich Village that had Saturday night, midnight showing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the drag queens would come out and be Frankenfooter and the time warp and all of that kind of stuff that you see in there, and they would act it out in front of the theater, in front of the screen. I mean, these are like professional drag queens. These guys were incredible. The performance that they put on, they were really into it, and you could tell that they had practiced and they had rehearsed. And I must have went back another half a dozen times to see that at midnight on Saturday on 8th Street in Greenwich Village. You talk about a movie experience. It was more. I don't even think they do that anymore. I don't know if that movie theater's still there.
No, but and actually that kind of the Rocky Horror Picture Shows, they used to go into the 90s. It would almost be like a regular Friday night theater. It would have at midnight. They would have that showing at some theater. It was always one particular theater everywhere around the country that would have that movie. Not so much anymore, but like that kind of interaction, it's kind of hard to say. Like there's not a lot of movies that are comedies that are really that funny, but like a lot of horror movies. You know, think about the fact that you're in that dark theater, you're set for that, and you get people that are also getting caught up in the whole, excitement, the thrill of what's going to happen to somebody. Like, the horror movies are really big this year, too. You got a lot of them coming out. It's like those kind of things, you still get something about having the chills of watching in the movie theater with other people getting scared and freaking out when they watch it on the screen. It's different than watching from home.
Well, what do you say about Danny McBride's comments about less outdated cinemaplexes in the suburbs, and him basically saying, he goes to he'll go and they smell or the sound isn't good, so he leaves. Well, that's part of the fact that when it comes to the movie theaters right now, some of the places they might struggle probably with staff, and they might not be training the staff fast enough. Because one thing I know about the theater I go to, I know they have quite a bit of turnover, so there's not a lot of people that stay around there long enough to really get known. The managers are always pretty much standard, but like some theaters are run better than others. That's part of where there's groups right now within the major theater chains and Cinema United, which is the big collective of a National Association of Theater Owners that renamed itself last year. They're going to put billions and billions of dollars in the next 3 to 5 years to renovate all the movie theaters that are out there. But first things first is that after COVID, all these companies were struggling because they were losing money from what happened by not having the theaters open and not be able to get the audiences there. So they've recovered from that now. And now what they're doing is they've had to let some theaters go. They've had to go and they're working on trying to reconstruct some others, get through bankruptcy, go through some issues, go through, the stock jump, I was trying to think of the Robin Hood kind of thing, right? Where AMC would, and then they had to spike in their price, their stock ticker. All that stuff happened, and now we're back to the point where, like, the theaters are back to reinvesting. So what Dana McBride is saying, there's a lot of outdating where the theaters are just been a little bit neglected. I know that the fact is they're going to do a lot of things for it, and some of the ideas is they're going to help create screens more like IMAX. So they would have, if you can't get IMAX screen, which people will go to movie theaters for that and spend the price for that. But you can also recreate the same thing where each of these movie theater chains have their own version of IMAX, which like, here's a big 70-foot screen, here's the sound. It might not be IMAX, but close enough. Like, I know Mine Theater's going to have more of that coming up. They're going to build those. A lot of them are getting the new seats, the leather recliners, which is great. It's like no more bucket seats. That's been outdated. But more of them are getting those all the time. You just, people don't know about that. If you haven't gone to the movie theater, it doesn't hurt you to go and check and see if they've done some renovation. And then on top of that, so you mentioned that you have the Regal Pass, George. You have the Regal Pass near you. By me, the closest theater is AMC. So, like any other franchise, if I go to the AMC theater here, or if I go to the AMC theater in South Florida or Jacksonville, shouldn't it be the same experience? If you go to the Regal by you and you go to the Regal someplace else, like a Big Mac, it should be exactly how it is no matter where you get it in the world. But they're not, like you said, they're not all managed the same way. But to your point about IMAX and similar type of screens, so you're saying that Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, although of course he wants people to watch movies at home because Netflix is you'll be streaming at home or on your phone, you're saying that the movie experience, like Danny McBride said, is not dead. You just have to make it so that people want to go have that experience. They're not going to go to a smelly experience with bad sound, but they will go to a big screen, a.k.a. IMAX, or something similar, and something with great sound. They will go to see that if it's out there and it's affordable. I would have to agree with you and the actor McBride on that. What do you say? So it will rival sitting at home, because sitting at home, yeah, you see the movie, but it's boring. A lot of times I watch a movie alone. It's boring.
Oh, you know what happens is the subscription services that I have, if I have any complaints about what goes on, my theater, that company, they should survey every time I go to a movie, because they're going to get something from me. If there's anything wrong, they will know about it. And the managers, I'll tell you, at least from my end, I know they're trained to go ahead and stay on top of the people that are subscription holders. The ones that are going to go there to give you the real sense of what the movie experience is like, they're going to tell you, oh, we saw this in the concession. We saw this in the theater. There's gum. There's sticky stuff. There's roaches. Well, mosquitoes, whatever, bugs, whatever kind of stuff it could be. Anything that's wrong, they're going to hear from their own nucleus of people they're going to be talking about. And I get that all the time. I already know that I can go back and tell them if there's something wrong, they'll know about it. And that's at least we have that coming for them. I'll tell you this, too. There are certain times where movies are events, and you want to watch them somewhere where everybody else has seen it. Like there's people always talk about, like, when they get a movie ticket, like, you remember it like a concert, right? Top Gun Maverick a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. There's no way I would have watched that the first time on a TV screen. There's no way, because when you look at the way that was set up, amazing movie. And then you go back and watch it again on streaming as many times as you want.
Well, the fight scenes have to be seen in the theater to truly appreciate them.
It is. And I'll tell you, and that's what happened. Look, every time I watched for Top Gun Maverick, they had that out there. That was a movie that was held over. It was like 2 months later, and they still kept running it. Now we got almost $2 billion. Because you got to go back and watch that again and again, and it holds up. Mission Impossible is coming out soon. That's the same thing that goes. You want to watch that as an event. The first time you want to watch it is just seen on that big screen, because the one thing for me was I don't like the idea of watching a movie first run on TV because it just feels cheap. Like, there's something to be said about when we used to get home video. Okay, you watch it after you saw it the first time in the theater. Or if it's a TV movie, TV movies, they're not always going to be the same. When we watched TV movies, they weren't necessarily the highest quality, but there's a difference between what we watch at the theater, which is still, I'm going to take advantage of the movie theaters because they're gambling. The movie studio said, hey, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Ted Sarandos and Netflix, they're not willing to do that. But Ryan Johnson, who has directed the Knives Out movies, he's one of the few stand-offs that does movies for Netflix. He's doing another Knives Out movie, a third one. He said, I went in the theaters first. And they did put it on theaters. It made money for 2 weeks. They had it out. I went and saw it. It was worth watching in the movie theater. And Netflix should do that again. But the problem was that Ted Sarandos, he had a couple of movies that didn't do well on that were Netflix movies. Put them out there for a week. It didn't make that much money, and that was it. So,
like I said before, his business is at home. He wants you to stay home. But let me ask you this. Like Rocky Horror Picture, I know what I'm getting when I go there. Minecraft, I know what I'm getting when I go there. Do you remember he died now, may he rest in peace, the great comedian Ralphie May?
Yeah.
Do you remember Ralphie May? Hysterical, brilliant, funny. Yeah. It's just a shame that he passed away so young. He did a bit on going to a movie house in a black neighborhood. And I can't even begin to do it justice, and I think of myself as very funny, but he talked about how when you go to a movie theater in a black neighborhood, that they are part of the movie. Like, if it's a horror movie, don't go in there, don't go in there. And then the guy gets hit in the head with an axe, and you'll hear the voice from the crowd go, I told you not to go in there. I mean, his bit was hysterical, and I'm not even doing it justice. But when I go to a movie theater, I don't want that. Black neighborhood, white neighborhood, Asian neighborhood. I don't want commentary from the peanut gallery. I just want to watch the movie. I don't want to hear your crinkling bag. I don't want to hear you whispering. I don't want to hear your phone buzzing.
Well,
I don't want to hear color
Lou,
commentary.
You want to say you're extroverted. You might be a little more introverted as you matured. I think maybe there's a little more
as I matured, you mean as I got older? You're calling me old, George Ramita?
Hey, I'm just thinking your maturity is taking you away from the fact of peanut gallery adds to the environment, the atmosphere that comes to it.
No, but if I go to a movie, I mean, they say shut off your phones. They say please be quiet. I don't want to hear people talking in a movie theater. You're not supposed to. No?
I don't ever hear people talking, really. The thing is, part of it is for me is I also know that where I sit, I'm never usually around anybody. So I always make sure, like, I'm always one person, and, there's there's no general admission anymore. So now you are, picking your seats like you would you have to select the seats. So
well,
I'm
actually, do you pick them at home? Do you pick them on your phone before you go?
Oh, yeah. App. Every time. And I can do it ahead. No problem. And that's the best part about that is, like, I can go and do whatever I want. It's scheduled, set to go. They scan it, and I go inside, and that's it. I don't have to worry about going into the theater. That part of the wait approach, you only get to wait for it concessions, and that's okay. I don't mind doing that.
Oh, okay. So you think there's room in the future for both? Yeah. You think there's room for the movie house experience and streaming at home, but just you don't want to watch. Well, you don't want to watch a new movie at home.
Can I give you an example? All right, so Apple TV Plus, they have the F1 movie. That's Brad Pitt. I'm sorry, it's a racing movie. Do you really want to watch that first on television? That's the movie that's going to have the roaring engines of all these machines, and I'm going to hear that on a big screen. I want to go and watch the track. I want to feel the race. I want to watch in the movie theater. That's just me. Now,
wait, you're talking about Apex?
Yeah.
Apex, is that out yet?
Oh, no, F1. F1's coming out later this summer. That's the one I want to look forward to. The other thing I'll tell you this, too, which is also interesting.
Wait, hold on. Let me back you up. What's the one he filmed by me in New Smyrna Beach with the Hispanic guy? What's his name? I thought it was called Apex. Is that a movie that's coming out?
Javier Bardem?
Yes. Javier Bardem. Yes.
That's F1.
Okay, that was portions of that were filmed here in New Smyrna Beach. There was Brad Pitt. There was Brad Pitt mania here. It was free yoga classes for Brad Pitt, free dental cleaning for Brad Pitt. It was free food for Brad Pitt. Everywhere you went, there were signs outside of restaurants that was. There was not one sighting of Brad Pitt, a real sighting of Brad Pitt anywhere, except for on the set, and then. But there was a million alleged sightings of Brad Pitt everywhere else.
Can I tell you something, too, about the movie theater experience that nobody knows about either? Come up with a whole secret. They don't have merch. Like, every big major motion, every big picture that comes out now, they have merch. Like, now they have a thing where they do souvenir stuff. So souvenir popcorn tins, like the Gladiator movie they had just out, had a big Gladiator arena and, like, had the popcorn inside of it. Wicked, you have, like, the Wicked Witch is hot, used for a drink. All these kind of merchandise that comes out. And they're selling that stuff now in the theater. So, like, you want to get that, souvenirs are out there. T-shirt, you want to go and represent what movie you like. They have that going on as well in all these movie theaters now. There's more of a thing like that going on too to add to it. It's just there's more to involve. It's just like the theaters are getting better.
George, let's be honest. What you just described is yes to get you involved, but I'm going to sound like an old man, which I'm not. But it's designed to separate us from our money.
Sure.
I mean,
but
I'm all for merchandise. I remember all the merchandising from the Batman movies.
Hold on. You're not one of those people that go to the movie theater and buy the kids' value meal, popcorn, and a drink because you're trying to save a little bit. If you're going to go to the movie theater, it's like you're going to a concert, you're going to some other place. You're going to spend money. It's one of those entertainment things that you spend
I don't mind that. What I mind is don't charge me $3 more for the popcorn because it's in a container that has the picture of the characters from the movie on it. That's all. George, we're short on time. We got about 2 minutes, and this is a conversation about the movie experience, which is pure Americana. At least it started out as pure Americana. It's worldwide now in a multi-billion-dollar industry. So the future is bright for big screens and bigger sound systems for the future. It's not all going to – there's a place for Netflix. There's a place for streaming at home. But people like to get out there and have that movie experience, right?
And I'll tell you this, too. The movie theater, the studios have learned their lesson about some of the movies they put out there, especially like the Marvel, DC, all the comic book stuff. They're not going back to the well and trying to hit us up with so many different sequels and retreads and rehashes. I think they've learned their lessons from it, and I can tell you some of the movies that have been coming out are not so woke as they used to be before. It's getting to be where the experience is better. Like there's a part where I'm not cringing at some of the movies we're seeing because, there's a quote of who's diverse, this diverse cast going on, or the stories they're coming out with that it's just like trying to bring back to life some story that we've seen retold a billion times. It's starting to change up a bit, which is a much better thing for the movie-going experience.
So they learned from all the garbage they've been putting out for the last 10 years, is what you're telling me.
Because all these movies kept tanking, so they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Can't write these off.
George, to be continued. George Hermida, the King of Podcasts, www.kingofpodcasts.com, on X, on TikTok, at King of Podcasts. Check out the Broadcasters Podcast. Check out Podcasters Row. George, special thanks to you. I appreciate it. Please don't let 8 or 6 or 9 months go by like last time. We'll see you again.
As long as you got me a chance to go and come on board. Always. Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, George Hermida. And special thanks to producer Matt, producer Sean, Rich for trusting me with his show. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day from WPHT.